From the studios of AIIM International, this is AIIM On Air, where we explore the methods, technologies, processes, and people on the front lines of digital transformation in action. I'm your host, Kevin Craine. Welcome to the show. I'm so pleased that you're listening to this episode of AIIM On Air, the podcast created for and dedicated to members of AIIM International and information management professionals worldwide. I've got a great episode for you today. We have two members of the AIIM Leadership Council joining us today, starting with Rafael Moscatel, Head of Information Governance at Farmers Insurance. I spoke with Rafael about his experience at the recent AIIM Leadership Council Summit, and he shares a bit of Farmers' story and how they're working to customize a digital experience for their customers. So stay tuned for my interview with Rafael Moscatel in just a moment. Later on in the show, I speak with Claudio Chaves, Chief Technology Officer at ICAPT Inc. ICAPT recently joined AIIM's Leadership Council, and I asked Claudio to help us explore some of the key findings of the summit meeting last June, and he shares ICAPT's vision on digital transformation, especially with respect to the confluence of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and mobile. So stay tuned for Claudio Chaves from ICAPT later on in the show. But first, if you like what we do here at AIIM On Air, you should subscribe. That way you'll never miss an episode. It's easy to find us. We are everywhere fine podcasts are found. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, you name it. Or just go to the AIIM website and find us there. It's at aim.org/podcast. That's AIIM.org/podcast. Now, on to the interview. Rafael Moscatel, welcome to AIIM On Air. AIIM just hosted our Leadership Council Summits in London and in Baltimore, and the summit's focus was on reinventing customer experiences, how digital transformation is impacting how companies strategize and buy content services to be most impactful. Can you give me your impressions of the recent Leadership Council Summit?
Well, actually, yes. I came away learning quite a bit on a number of topics, really. I mean, I read quite a bit, but you get the most education when you surround yourself with folks like this. I almost feel like I should have gotten some credit somewhere at some institution after processing Michael Moon's insights into digital marketing and all that futurist conversation. Dave Giordano and TSG, just listening to him and how he applied that in a similar insurance carrier. I'm in the insurance business as well. Fascinating. And then, of course, Yuri from the Ogilvy Group, who just gave this incredible presentation, quite a hard act to follow.
I know that we've been talking a lot in the industry about enterprise content management and content services, intelligent information management. What's your take on all of that? In what ways do you feel digital transformation is driving a focus on content services?
Well, it's a good question. I think it's certainly one of the things driving the focus on content services, Kevin, but I think it's kind of blended with the pressures of the regulatory environment, and in a lot of ways they're symbiotic, right? So this is the data that is in most cases the most valuable and vulnerable to an organization. So I think as the demand for digital accelerates, so do the necessities around managing content. So, and I've never really thought about enterprise content management as kind of going away. It's really kind of all around us now, and all encompassing. So we're really in the right space right now.
How is Farmers customizing the digital experience to bring value to its customers?
Yes, I was asked by Jessica Lombardo to come and talk about how we customize the digital experience and how we bring that value to customers. So my focus, Kevin, was really on how transformations internally affect the customer experience externally. And I was just looking back on my presentation. I think I drew some parallels between our net promoter scores internally, but we use the Medallia tool to learn more about ourselves, and then kind of how our executives use those insights and how they get applied externally. And so there is some interplay with what the customer is experiencing and what we're tracking internally. I think I talked a little bit more about how infrastructure supports, our employees who are the first line with our customers, and how that smooth digital experience is really what enhances that, and that's the demand we're trying to make. So we had actually pushed out a safe driving app and a first notice of loss app through both of the Android and Apple platforms. And I think I think I may have spoken to that group as well about our Amazon Alexa product. And all of these are essentially intended to enhance that digital experience for that customer. And that was basically the point of my talk there. I think that customer is really driving a lot of that digital need and change. Obviously, the customer wants digital. So we're all kind of struggling to find out how to manage and protect that content and balance, the business needs, the needs of particular business units with the law. And that's kind of an opportunity for information governance. And that's our area. And that's why I made an impact at Farmers.
You are advocating for a more holistic approach to information governance at Farmers. What do you mean by that? What does that mean for you, and how will that help?
IG by nature should be holistic, right? So the way I see it is it's an interdisciplinary approach to problem solving. And at Farmers, I think it's helped us in opening channels of communication between legal, IT, compliance groups, just really being methodical about how we manage unstructured content, for example. Projects around records retention, email management, just governance for privacy and data security. All of these have to be thought of kind of at once. We can't really afford to make a decision in a vacuum and not consider a particular project's implications to our tax base or to any number of things that could affect us down the line. And so, what we do is we bring those people around the table. And that's something that I was discussing with AIIM, is picking the right people for those. And sometimes that's kind of tailored for your business, but there's always seats at the table that I would consider at any company: data security, tax, compliance, legal. But that's essentially, when I say holistic, that's how you solve a problem. You bring all your best minds from the organization together and allow them to kind of grow that solution and grow it organically.
I think of information governance primarily as something that deals with the risk side of the business, sort of compliance, data privacy, discovery, those kinds of things. But your holistic vision is a little bit broader than that, to include things that affect customers and customer experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. Well, IG influences customers and their experience with the organization. I think that's a good point. So my thought is that, a company that takes a serious approach to governing its data and records is going to influence its customer base with trust, the customer knowing that their information is safeguarded, that the organization cares about how it uses the information, and that as a customer, you're aware and involved in that. To me, that builds a good relationship, a good brand. And so to me, I'd like to think that IG, even though you're right, it is really an internal function for the most part, I would like to think that in developing that culture of IG, that it is reflected in kind of the outward face of the company, whether it's how we're dealing with customers, how we are advertising and marketing to customers. I think all of those kind of play together. And that's really my kind of broad holistic approach. So we like to talk to everybody from the business, the marketing group, of course. There's a lot of regulations and laws and particulars involved in how you advertise, especially in the insurance industry. And so we like to get all those people involved. And the more educated the whole organization is as a whole, long term, we're on safer ground, and we're acting in a more defensible manner.
Is Farmers using tools like AI and data analytics for things like customer onboarding? I know that a lot of organizations are looking to onboarding and new account openings. Maybe claims processing would be another one where those tools are becoming very important in addition to the information governance side of things. Is that your experience as well?
It is. So, and Dave Giordano talked a little bit about some of his digital experience with a similar carrier. But yes, we are introducing AI into some of our claims processes. I can't go really too deep into it because it is something that we're just developing.
Okay, fair enough.
But certainly, in fact, I think we just had a Wall Street Journal article published. I would like to say it was a couple weeks ago about our claims experience. And in that article, we had Rehan Ashraf, our head of innovation, kind of speak to that. So we are looking at all of those ways. We also, use Box, which enables us to kind of have analysis of imagery and things like that. So, we're still kind of on the cusp of it. We're exploring that. We're exploring kind of all of the edges of this universe, whether it's blockchain exercises, big data, and we're really kind of getting our feet wet with that. And I can start seeing some of the results in some of the products that we're going to have coming out probably in the next few months, in the next couple of years.
Digital disruption calls for leaders with the skills and experience to help their organizations manage information as a critical business asset. Become that leader now. Go to AIIM.org/CIP to read the new ebook and learn more about AIIM's CIP certification. That's AIIM.org/CIP. Welcome back. I'm speaking with Rafael Moscatel from Farmers Insurance. Rafael, data hacking, cybersecurity, it's on the mind of everyone these days. What has been your experience at Farmers, and how are you preparing and being prepared to protect your data?
Well, we have a really strong information security group that supports us in the governance, records and governance group. So we try to build a really good relationship. Of course, we're a financial institution, so we're a target like any other group, similarly situated company. But, we have a lot of controls around our data security. We have, and again, going back to that holistic piece, one of the first things I did with Farmers was link up with our information security group. So we work very closely on these issues. And, you're talking about privacy. California just passed a major privacy law. New York has a similar data security law, and it kind of overlaps with some of the concepts behind it. Vermont just passed a data broker law. So we kind of have to think about how we set the baseline for all of these programs and how we allow our businesses to keep moving forward. But we put those privacy safeguards in place because, Kevin, it appears that this is going to be the trend. We've never really even had to consider destruction of data in a way that seems to be vaguely prescribed by, or at least seems to be the direction in which a lot of these statutes are going. And so that's kind of a big paradigm shift for for people in my function, because there's always been an issue with over-retaining, but we've never had the European model where we do have to destroy and we do have to respond to customers' quest for information. And it'll be interesting to kind of see how all that plays. But I definitely think, it's going to be a data security world, and that's going to essentially rule the day.
Can you talk a little bit about the IG toolset that you use at Farmers?
Yeah, sure. We have a good set of tools, a good mix, Kevin, that actually I think match our program mission. And I think, again, that's very important. So we use a product called Virgo for records retention, which was developed by John Asaza. He's an attorney who specializes in information governance and records retention. We use that as a baseline for our policy and to keep us kind of updated. We're in insurance, so we're highly regulated, and we like a tool that really allows us to track and audit the changes that we make to our schedule, and then links that information to legal statutes which are current. And so Virgo gives us that capability. And then on top of that foundation, we have a couple other tools that we use. Specifically, we support the litigation group, so we partner with a company called Approved, and we brought in Untitled Pro to essentially help us with the defensibility of our legal holds. Farmers is always interested in making sure that its processes are defensible and strong, and Legal Hold Pro has really helped us in administering those holds. And then we did something very interesting. We actually took the Legal Hold Pro API and we integrated it with a Box API, so that we're able to essentially issue a hold, and the hold will trigger a box in which e-discovery can be collected around the organization. And that took us off an old SharePoint platform, which really we were struggling with in terms of how much time it took to upload records and process records. And it really, it's like the difference between a Ferrari and and an old clunker. So between those three tools, we've been very successful in kind of, helping introduce these ideas, not just to our department and the Office of the General Counsel, but really benefiting the whole organization.
And where is the future headed for you and farmers in terms of your AG or IG implementations?
So, it's interesting that you asked that question, because I was at AIIM in San Antonio recently and going around some of these vendors and thinking about how we're going to kind of take this to the next level. And we have the same challenges that every organization has, and it's rooted, of course, in silos and the explosion of data in the regulatory environment. But I'm actually looking at these tools, and they're giving me ideas and solutions. And so now that we've kind of laid our foundation, we're in year 4 of our program. It's really now time to kind of turn our eyes back to a lot of that unstructured data and see what value that we can get out of it. And we can't get any value out of data if we got a big pile of junk. And it's not to say that everything we create is junk, but between the drafts and the all of the duplicates, we really need to source and get down to the core content. So we're looking at companies like Active Navigation and ZL Tech, and just to kind of introduce some of that stuff and talk to those vendors to say, what can we do in terms of file analysis? What can we do in terms of any type of machine learning? And then kind of getting into some of our more granular areas, contracts and things like that. So that's kind of where we are at Farmers right now.
You mentioned you're in year 4 of your plan, obviously done a lot of work. What is your advice for our listeners looking to do something similar in their own organization?
I really think organizations need to spend a lot of time in their assessment phase and in their strategy planning phase. The problem is not going away. It's going to be there when you get back. And too many organizations and too many companies are eager to apply these tools and these tool sets, and it goes against the very concept of information governance, which, again, it's, holistic. And so I really urge people who are trying to develop those programs to look at it at 5 and 10 years. And, of course, things are going to change along the way. Because not just because of technology, but just because of the way things naturally occur in the organization. So the more planning you can do, and I know it's been said before, but especially in these areas when you're talking about how long you're going to retain your records, privacy safeguards, and things that are going to affect your customers in the long term, the real value is going to be in the strategy planning. So you take your time with that and don't rush through it.
Rafael, it's been great speaking with you today. We're almost out of time, but before I let you go, one last question, and it has to do with your involvement with AIIM. What's one thing that you've learned from your time with AIIM as a member that you have taken back to your place of business and used?
With AIIM, I've just, it's funny. It's the same advice that I need in all areas of my life, which is don't remain siloed. And keep your mind open to different things. So what AIIM allows me to do is it allows me to discuss with leaders in my area specific problems, whether it's enterprise content management, regulatory issues. But what it also does is it kind of gives a 30,000-foot view of the whole thing. And you really need to kind of see all those moving parts at that distance, even if you're not directly involved in those areas. And I think it's important to kind of continue to refresh your opinions about things, refresh your interests and ideas about technology. And the only way to do that is to engage with people who are doing the type of work that you're doing.
That's Rafael Moscatel. He is head of information governance at Farmers. You can find him at rafaelmoscatel.com. Rafael, thank you so much for being our guest today on AIM on Air.
Kevin, it was a pleasure talking to you as well.
Information is your most important asset. Learn the skills to manage it at aim.org/training. That's AIIM.org/training. Next up is Claudio Chaves, Chief Technology Officer at ICAPT Inc. ICAPT recently joined AIIM's Leadership Council, so I asked Claudio to share ICAPT's vision and how they plan to lead the way in reinventing digital customer experience.
And nowadays, we do perceive that digital transformation is changing significantly the way companies are doing business and envisioning its projects. So I would say that in the age of AI and machine learning and robots, we do believe that we should blend knowledge and technology components as much as possible in order to establish new ways to efficiently manage enterprise information. I would say that as long as new devices and applications arise, as a solution provider, we do believe that we would like to bring more features to those new capture sources, embedding intelligent capture capabilities to make business process less complicated. We really want to democratizing the use of advanced capture features in the industry, no matter the type of application of the device.
Now, tell us about your experience at the Leadership Summit back in June. What were the highlights of the session?
Well, I've been attending AIIM conference and courses since 1997, but the Leadership Summit meeting was an amazing opportunity for me to meet with experts and exchange experience and ideas about ECM and the related technologies. In my opinion, one of the coolest things about this group is the fact that we have leaders from different companies, and interesting is even competitors are quite open to exchange ideas about digital transformation without being concerned about to protect their own products. Also, I liked very much the way PEG introduced the event, proposing a set of interactive exercises to collect ideas about the opportunities and hard trends, letting the group to discuss and exchange ideas considering important aspects such as the government, regulation, standards, demographics, but also thinking about the impact if the problem is just ignored.
Interesting that you mentioned that leaders and even competitors that were there at the summit were open to sharing, because one of the key findings that came out of the session was that digital transformation leaders are those that are focused on making it easier for their partners and suppliers and customers to do business with them. How is ICAP doing that?
There are strong data capture solutions out there, right? We are a new player, and as a new player, it would be a challenge to build a full data capture platform from scratch using the traditional approach, let's say that. So we've decided to build something a little bit different, data capture web API based on microservices concept. So which means that we are trying to decouple the traditional linear data capture workflow into independent functions that can be easily invoked by different types of applications, including BPM and ECM, or even the RPA software, even using different types of devices. So based on this microservices concept, our customers and partners are now able to connect its business process activities with the desired intelligent capture method using our cloud infrastructures in a matter of minutes, not days or weeks. So these days, it's quite easy to communicate using the RESTful web APIs, which means that we have a wider group of potential consumers. So we're trying to enable our partners and customers to connect with our system much easier.
Another finding was that user organizations will consume content capabilities in one of two ways, one being a content platform and the other being content services that drive different business platforms. Can you tell me a little bit more about the differences between the two and how ICAP will focus on supporting those approaches to digital transformation?
Absolutely. Our major product called ICAP Services Cloud is a RESTful web API and has been developed to be integrated with a diverse sort of enterprise applications. So I would say that ICAP will be focusing to ignite our platform using the new AI and machine learning technologies to implement new features to detect, classify, and extract meaningful data, not only from the traditional documents, but from images in general, which includes photos, videos, text documents. So I would say that we will be producing part of this content to feed information into content repositories.
Our guest today is Claudio Chaves. He is the Chief Technology Officer at ICAP Inc. You can find him at icapt.io. That's ICAPT.io. Claudio, the next Leadership Council Summit will be in October, and it's focused on AI and machine learning. What are you looking forward to most in that upcoming summit?
Oh, yeah, we are looking forward to attend this new meeting. AI and machine learning are considered top trends in our industry. And as I've said, we do believe that using these technology elements will take our platform to the next level. So during the next meeting, I expect to see more discussions about practical use cases and real implementations adopting AI and machine learning. Well, if we look back a few years ago, nobody believed that we could be using a mobile phone as a capture device. And today, I would say that other devices will rise as a capture source. So machine learning and AI will be empower new devices such as the smart glasses, the new generations of smart glasses that could be used to capture images and capture documents, and we can be integrated as a larger system. So this specific subject, machine learning and AI, is something that we are looking for implement as soon as possible into our systems.
Claudio, it's been great speaking with you today. We're almost out of time, but before I let you go, one more question. You are working to establish an AIIM chapter in Brazil. It's a community now, but you're working to get to be a chapter. Tell me what's going on.
Absolutely. We have a group of people that are trying to use the AIIM knowledge and the infrastructure of the Congress. We are joining people in Brazil. Today we are still a community. The last event that we organized in Brazil called Information Show was held in São Paulo 2 weeks ago, and we had a meeting, and we are starting discussing topics such as AI and RPA, machine learning, and we are trying to have more people joining our group because we really want to have more people from different industries to discuss about the situation of our country in Brazil, and also to use the existing experience from AIIM to create an ecosystem that we can exchange ideas and improve the way we are doing business to manage information.
That's Claudio Chaves. He is the Chief Technology Officer at ICAPT Inc. New members of the AIIM Leadership Council. Claudio, thank you so much for being our guest today on AIIM On Air.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
This has been AIIM On Air. Find us at AIIM.org. That's AIIM. I'm your host, Kevin Craine. Thanks for listening. AIIM International, AIIM.org.